right now. We had David Morrell Jr., who scored another knockout victory, and he's 7-0, and he looks like $1 million every fight. He's calling out the top names, and it seems like the guy that he really wants is David Benavidez Jr. What do you make of David Morrell so far in his boxing career, and how do you think, what do you think about a match with him and David Benavidez?
Yeah, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you. I don't think he looks like $1 million. I think
Okay.
I think he looks like maybe half of that.
Okay.
I think that he's a really good boxer. I think that on paper he's better than what he's shown, especially in his very last fight. And here's my thing. My thing isn't that he got hit while punching and he took some punches and things like that in this fight. I mean, give the kid credit. He took some punches that looked pretty strong, and he continued to fight and do what he had to do to get the victory. But for me, I just want to see him be a little bit more professional when he's in the ring with guys at the level that this Henderson guy, I think his name was Henderson.
Kelvin Henderson, yeah.
Yeah, that this Henderson guy was at. I don't think he was world championship level. And if you're saying you're world championship level, it should be extremely evident, not through a 3-round or a 4-round knockout, but through practically every moment of the fight. You're supposed to move differently. You're supposed to punch differently. We're supposed to see you setting this guy up and laying him out. And if he ain't being laid out, we're supposed to see you have him on the ropes and landing these shots and creating these moves that shows us what level you're on. And I didn't see that in this fight from Morrell. Does he have that in him? Yes, I do believe that he has it in him. But when the lights come on, you got to be able to hone in on that energy and make it work for you. And I think that they got to get him out of Minnesota. I think that he's created a fan base there, which is great. Yeah. You got to get him out of Minnesota. You got to get him in bigger stadiums, bigger arenas, in front of bigger crowds so that he knows what that's like before he gets in the ring with the David Benavidez.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
And you got to get him in the ring with some stiffer competition.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because he's been...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Last thing I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
That can force him to box so that he can show the skills that he has. I don't think that anyone's forced him to be at the level that we believe him to be at.
Yeah, the only fight where he's gone the distance so far was his third pro fight when he fought the guy Lennox Allen when he won the WBA interim belt.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I never thought about that point, but you brought up a great point about Minnesota because he's been the cash cow of the Armory. He's been there.
You got to applaud it. It's great. We saw Terrence Crawford do it in Omaha. We've seen other guys do it in their respective cities. Look at what Errol Spence Jr. has been able to do in Dallas. But when we talk about, hey man, you got Crawford, where's this fight going to be? Well, I love it to be in Dallas, but if it's not in Dallas, it don't matter. You got to create that mindset, and you don't get that mindset from continuing to fight at home.
Yeah, you got to get outside of your comfort zone, that type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Shawn, I know you were at the Tank Rolly fight. And Tank was pretty patient and scored a very devastating shot. And Rolly, to his credit, he had some moments in the fight. But what did you make of that whole fight, Tank versus Rolly, the spectacle that it was?
Yeah, you can go watch what I felt about that on the Put Away podcast.
There you go. Okay.
I was just playing. And I'll make it quick because I know I've been long-winded, but
no, I'm listening. It's great.
I think that Rolly team developed the game plan. I think they surprised the world because they were very poised from beginning to almost the end of that fight, but they were able to really just kind of neutralize Tank, and for the sake of words, force Tank to fight going backwards. And while I had Tank winning the fight, I saw a little bit of a replay, and I could understand why people had Rolly winning the fight. Tank is always going to have the X factor. He's always going to, and people think that his X factor is his power. Tank's X factor is the fact that he has the ability to do everything. He can box from the outside. He can box on the inside. He can body punch. He can use the jab. He can box going backwards. He can be aggressive. He's got speed. He's got quickness. He can counter punch. He's got power. He is just a well-rounded boxer, and that's what makes him the X factor. And everybody thinks that it's his power. Power's great, but his X factor is the fact that he'll always be able to beat you no matter what. If you're fast, guess what? He's fast, but he's strong. If you're strong, he's strong, but he's fast. If you're quick, he's quick too. He can catch up to you. If you can box from the outside, he can box and set you up, or box and draw you in, and the whole list goes on. You know what I mean? So he's a well-rounded fighter. He's the X factor. He's my number one guy at 135. Ooh. Even though Devin Haney has all of the belts, I still think that that's a pick'em fight. That obviously we were asking Leonard Ellaby about that fight this weekend, and he wasn't really giving it to us. But I wouldn't hate that fight for either of these guys next year. I don't think it happens this year, especially with the rematch clause for Kambosos and Devin Haney. I think that at 135, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of great fights to be made at 135, but for Tank specifically, I think the two that I would want to see him in the most is Lomachenko and or Devin Haney.
That Lomachenko fight's been one that's been on the radar for a long time. Tank and the other promotions. I don't want to. It seems like they have had a reluctance to fight him because I mean they've always said the narrative of like, well, he's older, so I don't gotta rush. I think that's a fight they should make.
That right there. I didn't think about it until just now. And I'm not even going to front and say that I would have said this to Leonard Ellaby directly. Yeah. But I'm going to go ahead and say it now. And this is just how I feel. In other things, we call it freezing them out. I think that they're going to prolong that, let Lomachenko get a little older. Mm-hmm. And when they feel comfortable about it, then they'll start to try to force that fight. But I don't see them forcing that fight tomorrow.
No.
Everything, also respect to Lomachenko, everything that he's doing for his country. We hope the best for his country and for him. I pray to God he stays safe over there with everything that's going on. But if we just talk about him getting back in the boxing ring, we don't know when he's going to get back in the ring. I hope that this does not slow down him as a fighter. If he could get back in the ring this year, I don't see them forcing that fight this year. Yeah. I could see Lomachenko and his team forcing it. All due respect to Leonard Ellaby, Mayweather Promotions, I don't see them forcing that right now. It's a business, and I know how the business goes.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that. They still got plenty of other options in-house, but